Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am doing this video so I can explain to you in detail and in a very easy to understand way, or in what I hope is an easier to understand way, the instructions to follow when you work on the summative. Now, if you go to my class canvas page, which should look something like this, you scroll the way to the bottom, you're going to see two entries. One, which is the original entry for the summative, and the second one, which is this one, where I am giving you a calendar in which I suggest steps on how to make your work easier and faster. Now, we're going to ignore this one for a moment. So if reading this confused you in any way, ignore it, forget it, and let's focus on this one. Now, I am going to open it for you. I did already, actually. And it shows this introductory title. Proposed calendar, how to finish the summative task in 12 days. Actually, you can do it in less. It's up to you, really. And the instructions are, there's an old riddle saying, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is, bite by bite. Now, if you say this is a dad joke, I wouldn't blame you. But it sounded cool the first time I heard it a couple of years ago, so I threw it in there. Please have mercy on me. Now, to help you understand how to schedule the work, please take a look at the proposed calendar. By proposed, I mean that it's a suggested calendar to help you get organized. And this way you can finish in time. And my main objective is that you finish early enough so that you can send it to me for feedback, and I take a look at it and make some, I can make some annotations on it. And that way, when I get the final version, at least you had the benefit of some input. It's not a black box that you're handing it into. So if you open the calendar, you will see this file, which I already opened to avoid problems. And I'm going to magnify it a little bit. And this is what I'm going to discuss with you. The calendar that teaches you how to work on this fast. Now, I'm moving on. Introduction is the same one that I just did, so I'm not going to go over there again. And the main purpose of the summative is for you to create your own space mission. So the answer to the first question, what do I have to do? You are assembling a space mission. You are an agency like NASA or Tesla. And your goal is to assemble all the components that are necessary for you and your agency to send a crew of brave pioneers on their way to explore the galaxy. And the steps that you should follow are the following. Again, this is a suggested calendar. Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to stick to it. If you do, it will benefit you. But you can work faster if you want, or slower, as long as you deliver the work in time. And we'll talk about deadlines a little bit later on. But the original deadline that we set was May 7th or May 8th. However, that may change, so I'm not including that yet. Make sure that you work on it with enough time and get it done. What do you need to develop? Create a company. For day number one, what you should do, what I would do if I was you, is create a company name and a company logo for your space administration company. And this ties in with the assignment that you worked on before. So you already have this. You just have to polish it up and include it. And notice that the same instructions are very similar. Think of logos for agencies like NASA or Tesla, etc. If you have already done, yes, you can use it or adapt it, whatever you like best. So on day one, it's based upon creating the company name and company logo for your space administration. Now, for day number two, what I'm asking you to do is identify a problem that we have on Earth which could be solved with a mission to space in which we discover and colonize a planet, and create a name and a logo for your space mission. Again, this ties in with what we did before. So if you have the logo for the mission, that's fine. Remember that a logo for the space agency is one thing, the NASA logo, and the logo for your mission is another. Think of the logos for the Apollo missions, each one had its own different design. But the key part here is this one: identify a problem that we have on Earth which could be solved with a mission to space in which we discover and colonize a planet. Again, hypothetical scenario, but it is required that you identify a problem and you solve it through your mission. Day number 3. Actually, I said this one for days 3, 4, and 5, but you can probably do it less. What you need to do now is you answer the following questions about your space mission. You can do research online as much as you need, as long as you cite your sources and make sure that your sources are credible. That's really important. If you visit a website, say NASA, etc., and on a particular link you find information that you can use, cite it. It's really important that you get used to this. Now, required. These are the items that are required for everybody to answer in their assignment. Number 1, what will be the roles for the members of your crew? In other words, will you have a captain? Will you have a science officer? Will you have an engineer? Will you have a communications expert? Will you have a security agent, security contingency, etc.? When I say roles, I mean the positions, the ranks, and the posts that the members of your crew will occupy. Notice that every person in that is part of the crew of a mission has a role to fulfill. They have a duty, they have a responsibility. Each one of them runs a department: engineering, communications, science, navigation, command, which is the captain, etc. Those are the basic ones, and we saw it in both examples that I showed you. We saw it in Apollo 13 and we saw it in Star Trek 4. Okay. Next questions. How will you keep the food supplies in space? We've talked about it. We talked about this. All of these items were discussed with you and for you and by you on the summative that you did for December. Remember where you were asked for lessons that would teach your classmates these topics. So we're tying this in and we're going back. But if you so wish, you can research it and answer it. And the questions are: how will you keep food supplies in space? How do you make sure that your ship has adequate temperature, oxygen, pressure, and gravity? What is the best way to power your spaceship? How will your spaceship communicate with Earth? What materials will you use to build your ship? What is the look of the spacesuits that your crew of your ship will wear? And how do you deal with medical emergencies? Okay, moving on. The next task. Now you're going to work on the look of your ship, spaceship or starship. They're synonymous terms, but if you want to do the research as to what is the difference, if any, feel free to do so. Now, when you create the look of your ship, you can do this via a digital model or a physical model. You can use whatever way works best for you. First, you begin with a concept sketch. Always begin with the sketches, and this is your evidence. So it's very good that you begin, when you design your ship, you begin with a sketch. Once that you're happy with how your ship looks and feels, you use either one, that's my suggestion, of the following, or a combination of the following. You can use a digital model using design software like the one that you choose. It could be Minecraft, Paint.tv, Tinkercad, or any software that you're comfortable with. Or a physical model. In Spanish we call it maqueta, which means that you build a little model. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to include all the parts that are necessary. Or it can be a paper drawing that is as polished as you can make it. It means that if you draw it on paper, yes, it is acceptable, but it has to look as good as you can make it, okay? And in the end, you can use whatever way or ways work best for you. And that's for the next chapter. Now, for the next set of days, you're going to start working on your presentation or report. When I say presentation, doesn't mean that you're going to stand up in front of an audience to deliver this. This is not. That was my original intention if we were face to face, but with circumstances the way they are, I don't think that's going to happen. I say presentation because if you use PowerPoint, for example, that is presentation software. And without presentation, you can call it report, call it whatever you like. Now you're going to choose if you're going to report with PowerPoint, you're going to report with Sway, or Word, whatever you like. But remember, one item of the following per slide or per page. Number one, the first thing you do is the justification for your solution. So solution in this case is the mission that we created. You include the name and logo for your ship, you present it, and you explain why you chose it. Number two, you tell us what are the reasons for your space mission. Please explain and present it and explain why you chose it. And what are the components of your mission as outlined on days 3, 4, and 5. So what I mean is this. Here you would include this part that you wrote. Then for the next batch of days, include in your presentation images or photos of any concept drawings, plans, prototypes, the little model of your ship. We need top views, side views, and every other view you can think of. Use large photos. Yes, please please do not submit tiny photos, like 5 tiny photos per slide. No, please give us large photos and accommodate them in a slide, which is why I suggest PowerPoint. If you don't use PowerPoint, that's fine, you can use Word, whatever, but include one large photo per page so we can appreciate your work the way you intended it to be. And the last part is an explanation in which you tell us, after you've done it, how can you improve it? After you've finished the whole thing, you set it aside for a couple of hours or a day or two, you evaluate it. And you ask yourself a question. This is self-reflection. How could you make it better? Doesn't mean that you're going to make it better now. It means that I need to see how you think you could improve on it. And the second question, which is part of the criteria, and of course the criteria for the assignment is in the other section, in which you see, let me go back. Criteria with the rubric is in section 11.1. So back to this. So explain the impact that you think this mission will have on your staff, so the people that work with you, and to the world in general. Double check it, submit it through Canvas, and then you are done. And if you submit it early, I can give you feedback on it in case it needs changes. Now, if you need me to recap, I will do it for you. On day 1, this is what you need to develop: company name and company logo for your space administration company. Day 2, you could use the same day, that's fine with me. You identify a problem that could be, and tell us how it could be solved with a mission to space, and give us the name and logo for your space mission. Again, if you did this, just bring it in and that's fine. For the next batch of days, you're going to answer the following questions, and this is research that you can do, but just make sure that your sources are credible. Again, this ties in with the assignment that you did, the summative that we did for December. You saw the presentations on it, or you probably worked on it. What are the roles for the members of your crew? Captain, engineer, scientist, medical officer, etc. How will you keep food supplies in space with current technology? How do you make sure that your ship has adequate temperature, oxygen, pressure, and gravity? This is known as life support systems. What is the best way to power your ship? How will your spaceship communicate with Earth? What's the technology available now to communicate with space missions? What materials will you use to build your ship? And what are the spacesuits look like? Which is where you have to get a little creative. Well, actually, the whole thing requires you to get very creative, because putting together a space mission is a very creative endeavor, if you will. For the next, you're going to create the look of your ship, and I mentioned that this can be either digital or physical or paper drawing or a combination of any of these. As long as you're happy with it, as long as you're comfortable with it, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, I have no objections. However, I do suggest that you begin with a sketch and then you combine your choices. If you're going to go digital, Minecraft, Paint 3D, Tinkercad, Lego Designer, you name it, whatever you're happy with, whatever you like, go for it. Okay. For the next batch of days, you're going to start taking the information that you compiled here and you're going to include it in a presentation or a report. You begin, remember, one item per slide. Number one, you justify your solution. You explain the name and logo, the reasons for your mission, and name and logo, reasons for your space mission, and explain why you chose it and the components of your mission. The components of the mission are this part of it. Sorry, going back. And then you include in the next segment images and photos of any concept drawings, plans, prototypes of the little model of your ship. You need top views, side views, every other view you can think of. And once you're done, you're going to answer two very important questions. How can you improve your mission? And what is the impact that the mission will have on the people you work with and on the world in general? And that's it. If you have any questions, find me online and we will get a conversation going. God bless you. I miss you tons. I hope you are happy. I hope you're having a good time. Stay home. Please, we have to stop this. This is one of the few problems in life which you will solve by staying home. And God bless you and your beautiful family. We will keep in touch.